Hey guys, on last episode you would have seen us rock up to the Kimberley on a seaplane. We checked in on the Barrashack, got our little room, and on this episode we leave the comfort of Cyclone Creek on Barrashack and cruise out into the Buccaneer Archipelago.
First light now, and we've just pulled up the anchor and we're heading out of Cyclone Creek to Talbot Bay. The sun's just rising now. The view from our window, just tonking along to Talbot Bay.
Each night Ada would look at his charts and the tides and work out where we're going to go each day. He'd write up this day's schedule on the whiteboard and it was always jam-packed. It was always great to see helicopter flights as part of your day's schedule. That's definitely not normal.
We woke up early and cruised out of Cyclone Creek, where we then jumped on the fast boat to check out the horizontal falls at low tide.
On the fast boats we went for one early morning look at the tide coming out of the horizontal waterfall. It's a bit of a different look because yesterday it was coming in. So we could see the sun on the rocks, it was absolutely beautiful. Ada was on his specky driving again. And it was a great way to start the morning. We haven't even had breakfast yet. Most of us were still waking up and getting splashed with water. Outstanding. Ada pushed up through the horizontal falls and into the glassy water between the two. After that, he'd loop back around and shoot back down.
We couldn't go through the second part of the horizontal falls just because there was a risk of us getting bogged in the falls because the boat...
As it comes up the water, as the nose comes down, the legs lift out, so it cavitates. So Ada kept that one for another day, but yeah, we went up the main one and down it a few times, and each time we came down there was a bit of a ramp, so we got a bit of air time, which was quite exciting, but being at the front of the boat, it was quite an impact, and yeah, that had us, if we weren't already awake at 6 AM, that had us up.
We left the horizontal waterfalls, following the current back out to Barrashack, which was cruising out to Dugong Bay.
The boat was quite slowly chugging along, but it was a brilliant way to enjoy breakfast in the morning.
Each morning we had our breakfast cooked up for us, mostly consisted of bacon, eggs, sausages, avocado. It was beautiful. And each morning we had a different view to watch as we were eating breakfast. As soon as we anchored up, Nick had to get the rod out and have a quick flick and see if there's any fish around. Of course, there was nothing.
Thanks, Steve. We jumped on category 5 and the whole crew went out in search of some barra. A short boat ride again further out to the west from where we were anchored in the main Barrashack. We rocked up at a beautiful little creek and the tide was pushing its way out. It was low tide by the time we rocked up there, and it had just started to swing and start filling back up, and the edges, well, the mud into this creek were kind of dirty and had all the bait pushed in there, so chucked a few liveys around here and there, so we saw a lot of barra, but unfortunately none really made it to the boat. They kept dropping hooks and stuff and proving they were quite a challenge. So
I think it was 11 barra in total that were dropped by the side of the boat, and not one made it in.
Yeah, well, it was awesome to see them though. You could see them hitting the bait in the shallow water. There were some threadies around, and as that clear water came in, as the tide was moving into the creek, there was a couple of barra spotted from the front of the boat that were out on the flats just searching around. So that was quite awesome to see. Just free swimming barra with the big golden tails and chrome body.
We then headed out to a deeper spot where we had a quick drop to see if we could catch anything. I think there were a few golden snapper caught at the end of the boat, but we didn't manage to catch anything.
Yeah, down the back was going off and us up the front. Just unlucky. I guess that's fishing though, isn't it? Awesome to see them come in though. They were solid, like 12, 13 kilo solid fish. Very, very jealous.
After having a quick fish, we headed back to the barra shack to have some lunch while we waited for the chopper to come in.
It was quite amazing to watch him. We didn't capture it on camera, but the first one when he came whipping in, he came in forwards and then just span around backwards and kind of put it down backwards. It was some quite impressive flight skills, so yeah.
At this moment, it was actually my first helicopter flight, so I was pretty nervous. I opted to sit in the back because I thought it might be a bit more comfortable. Nick might be able to give me a bit of comfort throughout the flight. As soon as we got off the boat, I had actually regretted this and should have sat in the front.
Should have sat in the front. Front seat's the best seat.
We went for a flight over the horizontal falls this time. It was amazing to see it from this angle, having seen it from the boat and now seeing it from the
sky.
That's
what you're looking for. Did a few loops around the horizontal falls and saw a couple of boats shoot in and out. It's quite cool to see from the top down, looking at all the ridges and where the water kind of snuck through the gaps and filled up these bays. Really gives you a good lay of the land and where the boat had kind of made its way around in that short time, and yeah. After we checked out the horizontal falls, we cruised off just kind of in a big loop back towards the boat. Had a look at some little creeks full of mangroves, and I just couldn't stop thinking about all the untouched little spots you could get a tinny in and cast a couple of lures around. But later we'll have a shot.
We just headed to the horizontal falls in a helicopter and it was absolutely awesome. Now we're just heading off on a bushwalk into a rainforest, so that should be lovely. It is quite hot, so looking for a swim. After hopping off the helicopter, we got in the dinghy and headed off to a little gorge walk.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little mini Carragini. Unfortunately, the Kimberley this year hasn't, well, late 2018 wet season was quite dismal. There was no real cyclones and not much water was dropped in the Kimberley area. So a lot of the ground storages were quite dry, so these creeks and billabong kind of areas weren't really flowing. They still had a bit of water in there though, but she wasn't kind of moving as much as we'd hoped. But that was alright. It was great to cool off there for a swim. Check out this little kind of oasis really in the middle of the Kimberley. Something I would not have expected. I did going up there, I didn't think that was a thing, but yeah, that leaves you a couple of little gems around the place. It shows you that you don't know the whole area, I suppose, until you've got a local to show you around.
Whoa, oh.
After the Billabong, we went out for a fish. Unfortunately, no luck. The tide's quite moving because we spent a fair bit of time at the Billabong, so we're doing that on our side, I suppose. From there, we left, caught back up with the Barrashack that had been cruising. That was on Cat 5, so we caught up with Barrashack and linked up with them, and we nestled into a new mangrove area for the night where it was a bit protected from the currents and there wasn't so much tidal movement there. Another great little anchorage, and yeah, got to watch the sun go down over the hills from the top of the helipad onto the Barrashack. Watched the little reef sharks zipping around and the garfish, which was awesome.
So we just finished up day 2. Today we went on a helicopter. We went fishing and
Went barra fishing, went finger mark fishing.
And we went for a walk through the rainforest.
Yeah, the rainforest was like a mini Karajini, but there wasn't much flow, so it was alright. Still nice, but...
Of course, we had another great dinner that night, eating some of the snapper we caught that day for dinner with a lovely dessert to top off.
If anybody doesn't want theirs, I'll have it.
And then, yeah. Today it's day 3. Let's look at the view. We're just cruising at the moment to some reefs. I think it will take us about 2 hours. So we have brekkie on the way. Yeah, quite excited for today. There's a lot of swimming and it is pretty hot out there already, so it should be awesome.
Another jam-packed day. Anchor up at 6, breakfast, Waterfall Reef expedition, lunch. Then we went out to Iron Islands. Then we went out to the most magical spot I've been in my entire life.
We geared up, jumped in the boat, category 5, and shot off to a place called Turtle Reef. At Turtle Reef, it was mainly there for sightseeing, but as Ado pointed out, there were some quality fish to be caught along the outgoing, where the current was kind of meeting the mud and stirring it up. So yeah, we rocked up and grabbed the popper out real quick and had a cast, and bang, we hooked up, and it was just such an explosive take, and hooked up straight to a barra in this like pristine place with, oh, it's just awesome to see. Anyway, so I fought this fish for a bit, but unfortunately I dropped it, so yeah, next time at least.
You! Oh, look at that nice clear water too.
That is insane. Would you believe it, hey? Oh. It's got some going in.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, spat it.
And the look on his face is...
That was still spectacular, eh? That was still sick.
Barra on popper and clear water.
After having to drag Nick away from the barra fishing, we hopped on the dinghy to check out the Turtle Reef, which is what we actually went there for. It was quite hard to get him away from that rod when we could see all the barra fishing around, swimming around.
Made our way up the creek up towards the little waterfall off the Turtle Reef, where the water is all coming out as the tide goes out. Heaps of turtles, heaps of fish, batfish, all kinds of things, sharks, queenies, golden trevally, all kinds of things pushing out with this tide and picking up stuff that's getting casted off the reef, I suppose. They're all in there for a free feed. We stopped in front of it and it was just mesmerising. It was such a surreal thing. It's really interesting to think about it. It's like the opposite of erosion. It's the reef growing up where the water is and where it's available. So these places, instead of getting eroded away by the water, they're likely growing where the water is and filling the spots, and there'll be new waterfall here in a couple of hundred years and new waterfall there in a couple of hundred years as the reef kind of builds up. As we finished up at Turtle Reef, we made our way back down to Cat 5, and I was really interested to see if anyone got a fish in the boat, because as we left it was firing. And sure enough, when we got back, 3 barra were in the boat, I believe. So yeah, they've been having quite this session, even though Tegan dragged me away from it, but that's alright.
I decided to then pick up a rod and have a go for myself, see what I could do. I ended up hooking 2 barra, but unfortunately lost them by the side of the boat. I just couldn't get them quite in.
Yeah, it's a bit of a testament to barra. They're quite the fish. It's awesome to see them. Not so much for pushover. They really are that sports fish everyone talks them up to be. I actually spotted 2 cruising and worked the popper, cast it, landed it in front of one and just boofed it. Another one, I just worked it past and he came up out of the mud kind of thing and just smashed it. And then I even saw another one that was swimming in like a feeder creek off into the mud kind of thing out of the main channel. Cast it over that sandbar kind of thing, across land on the mud, dragged it off the mud, and I twitched it twice in front of the fish, perfectly in front of it, right on its nose. It had every right to smack it, but nah, he just didn't want to bar of it. Maybe it was chockers from that little tidal change, and he just didn't want anything to do with it. So yeah, I guess that shows you can have the lure in the right zone and everything, have the fish there and everything, but sometimes they're just not hungry.
We then had to head back to Category 5. We decided to jump on the dinghy with Cam to actually head back to the boat, where we followed behind Category 5, and it ended up just glassing off, and it was so beautiful just to cruise along in the dinghy and yeah just see it from different angle. Yeah.
Watch Category 5, that was some pretty cool footage watching it cruise along. After we got up to Barra Shack, we had a little bite to eat, jumped on the boat, grabbed our swimming gear and went out to the Iron Islands, which are, as you'd expect, islands that are pretty much made fully of iron. So yeah, it pretty much speaks for itself really. Rocked up and kind of got in this nice little bay with soft sand that was all fluffed up from the tides going in and out, and climbed over the ridge, and there was these rocks that were, iron. It's quite amazing. You could pretty much weld them together, I reckon. They were pure. It was quite awesome to see. It was insane. I'm pretty surprised they weren't already mined away, to be honest, given WA.
We had a little swim at the beach there, jumped back on the boat, and we're on to our next adventure.
Next adventure was, it's close up there with the barra fishing on the poppers, but yeah, this billabong was like, this oasis was just next level. It was so much better than the last one. There was heaps of water, a waterfall, crystal clear, warm. It must have been spring fed out of something hot, but yeah, that was insane. It was like this real, like a live bush, secret spot, kind of snuck up in the mangroves, and just next level area. I still can't believe it was such, like, nestled in this dry Kimberley that just looks relentless. Nowhere like inhabitable, but this place was awesome.
It's very spectacular. Okay.
We were all enjoying a lovely swim at this spot when Nick said, "What's at the top?" So he and Cam decided to go for a walk up to the top of the waterfall to check out what was up a bit further up the stream, where they came across this beautiful little waterfall. Unfortunately, I only got to see it by the GoPro as I decided to keep swimming, which I probably should have gone and checked it out.
Yeah, this second pool had been untouched. It was there was not silted up at all. It was crystal clear and just came straight off this massive cliff. That was, the roots were kind of dringing down it, and it was kind of a small trickle off there. And as we walked our way up to this main one, there was like, you could feel each one was differently spring fed. Like this one's really warm, this is a bit cooler, this one was really warm, was flowing a bit faster. So yeah, it was awesome. And all the bushes and plants and stuff were all kind of leaching their way in, just trying to get themselves a feed, because it was the only water around for miles that wasn't salty. That section of rainforest was arguably better than Karajini, something we've also been blessed to go see. That was such an awesome place, but this just really turned it on. It was really, everything was just trying to get to the water, and it was like super green, that little area around it, and then again, like you drop off past where everything can reach the water, where the root systems couldn't quite get there, and it was just dead. So it really was this little oasis tucked away and hidden in this little corner of the Kimberley. While we're there, the tide was really making its way out, and the tinny was going to end up on the rocks and leave us stranded, which wouldn't have been that bad given how nice that place is. But ADOS assured us that being stuck in the bush with the noises in the pitch black isn't a fun time, so we'll have to take his word for it, and we headed off back to the barra shack.
Another sunset on the barra shack, and of course Nick's working a rod trying to catch something. Story of the barra shack, our room was just behind here, which is called Turtle Reef. We were the only ones staying on the second story. Everyone else was staying down below where the bathrooms were and everything. You can see here was the kitchen. It was perfectly kitted out. I had a little barbecue, sink, everything. Here was the table that we had dinner at, or every meal at every day, with that little bench where we mostly ate breakfast at to watch the views.
And again, more fresh fish for dinner. Whew.
There was a massive light down the back of the boat that intrigued me and Nick on the first night while we were staying there, thinking this must attract something. Nick headed down the back of the boat to check out what the light might have attracted this time, and came across these little reef sharks swimming around.
The reef sharks were on the hunt. They were searching through this little bit of light for the fish that had been attracted by it. There was quite a few garfish around mainly, and every so often you'd see a shark bump into a garfish, and the garfish would shoot off away from it, kind of thing, as it was kind of got a little bit too close for comfort for the teeth. And a couple of times you'd see him shoot off and land in the teeth of another shark. It was quite hilarious, and we saw a number of garfish get eaten that night. It was really cool to see the actual nature kind of out there hunting, something you wouldn't see if the lights weren't really on, and just kind of these things that happen each night that people don't really know about.
So that was the end of day 3. We've got another day on the boat, and then day 5 we head out, which you guys will have to keep watching in the next episode, hopefully soon. Well, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.